homesteading to prepping to common horse sense, we are College Hill Farm. Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, here we are. We're going to do a follow-up to our planting raspberries from seed video. Now, back in 2018, in October, it's March right now, but back in October, it's March of 2022, and back in October, we planted a row of raspberries right here. Now, all the way down through here, I set out a tape and dropped a teaspoon of raspberries every foot. Now, Crystal, when she makes jam, she seeds her raspberries so that her jam is seedless. Well, I take all that seed mess, put it in a freezer bag, and put it in our freezer. Now, when we moved here, we had a raspberry bramble that's about 12 feet wide and about 50 feet long. So I wanted to get a better way to raise raspberries. So I wanted to make a row of raspberries and then put fencing up to hold those raspberries in place so it would be easier to pick, easier to fertilize, easier to keep the weeds out, so that there's less competition and better berries. And there are a whole lot of reasons that I wanted to do that. Well, down through here, you see there's a big brush pile there now. We had some trees to blow down, and I didn't have anywhere to put them at the minute, so I just piled them up along this side of our field. But it was a total failure. Okay? Not a raspberry came up. Not one. But that didn't happen everywhere. Let's talk about that for a minute. When I was a kid, raspberries grew everywhere in eastern Kentucky. We had them on the mountains where they had strip mines. Anywhere the soil was disturbed, raspberries and blackberries grew. And I spent my youth running the mountains picking raspberries and blackberries. My grandfather had a raspberry patch of his own, and I picked them there. One of my favorite summertime treats is raspberries and cream. Wild raspberries. Now, not cultivated raspberries, but wild raspberries and cream. There's all kinds of seeds in them, but I love them. But I wanted to take our raspberries, which are wild, and get them where I wanted them. I wanted to cultivate them. Raspberries and blackberries are a pioneer species. So what that means is that raspberries and blackberries have to are the first species to populate a place. Like if you disturb the ground and cut down all the trees, and the first thing to come back are raspberries and blackberries, the bush type things. The reason being is they have no competition. They can grow in poor soils and they have very little competition, so they grow well. Now, once the soil starts to develop a little bit and there gets to be some leaf litter and there gets to be some soil there, other species start, like pine trees and cedar trees and things like that. Bushes like I don't know, honeysuckle and wild honeysuckle and autumn olive, and those bushes and things, they start coming on, and the blackberries a lot of times die out, and the raspberries. So my blackberry thicket needs me to mow it down. I'm going to do that later on this year. I'm going to try and get one more harvest of blackberries out of it, and then I'm going to mow it down and cut all the trees out of it and the whole bit, so it's just a blackberry thicket again. My raspberry thicket is in that same mode. It's having a hard time making it. But being a pioneer species, they don't start out well in full sunlight. That's why blackberries and raspberries did so good in Appalachia. So what I did was I took that second bag, which wasn't as big as the first bag I used to plant this row. I took the second bag and went around to places on my property that had the trees and where the ground was disturbed but it was shady, and I dropped raspberry seeds in a whole bunch of places here on the property, and I want to show you the result. Okay, all around my property in places like this, where that's the southern side and there are trees, so it was shaded, I have these. And this one's already layered down, so I'm not going to be able to pull it up. I have these raspberry canes, and that one's layered down. I'll let it make another cane. This is a 3-year cane, all right, from seed. A 3-year cane from seed. My thought was that I had failed. Nothing came up. But the truth was that first year, those raspberries only got up about 2 inches tall. I found a couple in late November when the leaves had all died down, and there was the little raspberry canes, 2 or 3 inches tall. And I found them all over my property where I had thrown these raspberries. And they're in among where there are some blackberry canes, but you can really tell the difference between a blackberry cane and a raspberry cane. A blackberry cane is a dark red. A raspberry cane is a dark purple. It's a whole different color. I don't know how well you can see that. Let me get you off the thing here and show you the color. Here is the color of a raspberry cane. Now right there beside it, that red one, that's a blackberry cane, but this is a raspberry. These little ones down here are blackberry canes. But that's a raspberry cane, and that's about 3 years old. So it's not a total failure. There are some places where there's a single cane. There are other places when there are 10 or 12. When I went around the property this morning looking at all the places that I had thrown raspberry seeds, which I'm going to do this again. I don't know how well you can see, but there are about 35 raspberry plants right here. In this area where I've thrown them out, there's a whole bunch of them. Under this old cherry tree, there's like 18 different canes. Different ones that have come up this year. So I know it'll be 3 years before I get another harvest of them, but you know, it's free of something that was a waste product on your homestead. Free. How much does it cost to buy raspberry canes where you live? Do they want 3 for $10? That's what the big stores want. So, free. Now, so I went around the property and counted them. And some places had 10 canes, and some of them had 1 or 2, and some of them just had 1, like this spot, 1. So I've got about 100 canes somewhere in that neighborhood around my property in the shady spots. Now, what am I going to do with those? Well, I'm not going to leave them in those individual spots. I still want a row of raspberries. Okay? I still want a row of raspberries that I can harvest that are on a trellis. So this winter, not now, it's springtime, I want these babies to grow. This winter, I will go around, probably November or December, maybe January, I will go around and collect all 100 of those canes and put them in a row. And put T-posts in and wire so I can put them up on a trellis. That way, I will be able to harvest raspberries easier than wading in to a bramble. This year I'm going to have to cut my blackberry bramble because it's getting trees in it. Let me turn you around there where you can see it. Right down there is my blackberry bramble. Right in here, it's getting all little trees in it. Well, when it gets little trees in it, the blackberries don't do as well. So that bramble's going to have to get cut, and I need to cut all those trees down. And then I'm going to put stuff up too, but that's going to happen after I harvest blackberries this year. So that's going to wrap up our follow-up of planting raspberries from seed. Yes, you can plant them from seed. Yes, you can use your seed pulp from making raspberry jelly or making seedless raspberry jam. You can use that, put it in the freezer, come out in the summer. It might work better if you waited till the winter and put them out. I put those out in October. They didn't do good. I put these out in October too, and they did fine because they were in the shade. So that's the only thing I can figure different. I actually plowed the dirt for them. These, I just threw them in there where the leaf litter was and all that stuff, and I let them propagate themselves. So that's the ticket. If you've got a shady spot, take and throw that raspberry pulp out in those shady spots. I guarantee you'll get raspberries growing in no time. And then, 3 years later, you can come back, dig them up, put them in the row you want, and you've got your own raspberry patch. Now, if you like this stuff, this homestead and do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homestead stuff every week, sometimes 1, sometimes 5 videos. Just depends on what's going on in the homestead that week. Now, if you hit the little bell when you come to the channel, it'll notify you when we upload a video. We upload every Sunday. Now, with that being said, it's time for me to get on to the next thing.